On the new episode of Overwatch This, we're talking about Blizzard's crackdown on VPN PC bang hackers. We'll be talking through Overwatch League, a possible spotting of Doomfist on the PTR, and some new revelations about loot boxes from Jeff Kaplan. Hello everyone and welcome to a landmark 20th episode of Overwatch This. I'm your stand-in host, Phil Ivaniuk, always the bridesmaid. And with me, as always, is Ben Barrett. Hello, Ben.
Hello everybody. I'm very happy to nearly be old enough to drink in America if I was Overwatch This.
Yes,
yeah.
Nearly. You could probably get away with it.
Yeah, we're starting to think about how we could steal alcohol in America.
It's fake ID time, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Plenty to talk about this week. Why don't we start with what's been going on in some Korean chat rooms and internet gaming cafes?
Absolutely. So basically, Blizzard have finally kind of cracked down on what was going on in Korea. There was a lot of hacking problems. About once every 2 weeks, once every month, there'd be a post on the Overwatch subreddit. It'd get all the way to the top. That'd be from somebody in Korea in some amount of broken English being like, look, we literally cannot play. There's so many hackers going on our servers. And they've kind of started to actually tackle this now. The problem basically comes from the fact that in Korea, everyone kind of plays through these internet game rooms, PC bangs, internet cafes, and you can go there and you can play for free without having to own the game on your account, and you're not on your computer, and everybody's using the same IP. And this leads to a lot of easily accessible, everything you need to be able to hack the game, play with a name hack or a wall hack or whatever, and not really be punishable. So what they've done is they haven't removed the problems where someone can actually just go to a PC bang, and if there are hacks installed on the PC, they can use it there. They haven't found a way to combat that yet. But what they are stopping is what was apparently quite a big problem, where people would VPN in from foreign countries into these PC bangs. They would then be able to play the game for free without having to have like it registered to their account, because the servers went, oh, you're coming from the PC bang, so you don't need it on your account to play, you don't need to pay for the game. And then they could play, they could have all the hacks they liked installed on their PCs. And that is now being stopped, basically. They're going to make it so any foreign accounts that are identified, even if they're identified as coming from a PC bang in Korea, they will still have to actually own the game to play it. Hopefully that should fix the problem.
PC bang's a funny word, isn't it?
Yeah. Getting through all that was quite difficult.
Yeah, so in effect, the root cause of the problem remains, but people who are pretending to be the root cause of the problem by VPNing into the root cause of the problem have been eradicated now. Yeah,
and given the big deal they're making about getting rid of this, I expect maybe this was a bigger problem than we thought. Yeah. And that a lot of the problems with the amount of hacking that was going on in Korea were probably coming from people coming from outside. Because obviously, you can't just go into every PC bang and be like, oh, I'm just going to install some hacks and play for a bit, and nobody will be none the wiser. Yeah. Presumably, the good ones will have some amount of security, some amount of ways to stop you doing that, and will ban you if they just find out that you are. And there aren't an infinite number of these. It is a big business down in Korea, but it's not like there's a dozen on every street or anything. So hopefully, this should deal with that quite a lot. I don't know if it will be enough, really, to completely destroy the problem, but at least it is a step in the right direction.
All of which is to say, it's really, really difficult to make and then maintain an online multiplayer game these days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really difficult. And the thing is that, Blizzard, they made this super complicated FPS. Valve haven't managed to get rid of all this with CSGO, and they've been doing this since Counter-Strike 1.6 in the 90s. And they still can't get rid of it. It's really hard to tell, even if you have a professional player who's really really good at the game and knows a lot about it, has been playing hundreds of hours. They can look at the first person view of somebody who is hacking, and they won't always be able to tell, because the subtle stuff is really clever. So yeah, it's really difficult.
Do you think there might be a significant difference in the way that the source engine works, and with it being so sort of easily manipulated compared to whatever engine Overwatch is running in?
Yeah, I expect so. I expect a lot of the problems with that and with comparing to CSGO come from the fact that the source engine's so open as well. You can develop in source basically for free. Everyone's been doing it for 10 years. There's a lot of access to that engine, whereas the Overwatch engine is just something that, as far as I know, Blizzard made or got into deals with other companies to make, and it is a private internal thing that we don't have access to. There's no such thing as an Overwatch map maker. The most custom stuff we've had is this custom game stuff that we were talking about last week. So I expect that helps, but I expect it doesn't help enough, and especially because, you know, these hack makers have 15 years, 20 years on Blizzard in terms of trying to hide the dead from detection, etc., etc. And while they've been dealing with stuff like this with World of Warcraft and with Heroes of the Storm and with Warcraft 3 for years, that is different from, you know, in an FPS where there's so much more you can hack, like aiming and having a radar or all that sort of thing.
Next up, we've got some news about Overwatch League, which we were chatting about last year.
Yes, yeah.
And thought it was sort of underway.
Around BlizzCon, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's about to be underway this year.
It seems to be the plan.
The process is about to become underway at some point. So team formations and things starting to
and selling
roll
merchandising.
into
Yeah, so this is all from the Activision Blizzard earnings call that happened last week, this week. And they were talking about the Overwatch League, so obviously it's a big thing for them. Esports is a big thing for Activision. They really like getting into that market. People know that you can make money out of it now. They're already quite large when it comes to, you know, stuff like Hearthstone, stuff like Heroes of the Storm, stuff like StarCraft 2, Call of Duty World League as well. And they were talking about it, and the phraseology they were using was very much, we haven't started doing this yet, which is very weird for something they announced 4 months ago. Now we kind of already knew that it wasn't in like fully fledged production because, for example, if you go onto the Blizzard jobs site, certainly any time in the last 4 months, there was like 8 lead positions for Overwatch League being advertised, you know, like the person who needs to run the whole part of the business here, or like the person who's going to do all of the social media strategy for this. So obviously that's not something that is complete and ready to go, but it seems like they were talking about it in an even more early stage than that, where they were specifically talking about beginning the process of forming teams, which is something that not only we already thought had begun, but they invited a bunch of team owners of NBA teams and I think NHL teams, and even, you know, bigger than that when it comes to the NFL as well, to BlizzCon, and they were talking to them there, and there were shots of them watching Overwatch, and there was apparently this big kind of mixer thing, but apparently none of that has actually resolved into people having teams or people being interested, which I think we just were expecting to have already happened by now.
It was looking for a while like we might have a fairly exciting sort of city, catchy name structure, a bit like NBA teams.
That seems to still be the plan.
Yeah.
But I was kind of expecting to know, you know, so the first team is definitely going to be the Los Angeles, I don't know, Lucios or something. I thought we were going to know that, you know, by the end of this month, by the start of next month. But that they are now talking, you know, they were talking in that they were beginning the process of merchandising and selling franchises and forming teams, which is really strange. What they also said is Mike Morhaime towards the end of the call was asked directly, you know, what's going on with the Overwatch League. He said that they were still planning on running the first Combine this year and kicking the league off this year. But it now sounds like it's going to be later in the year. Are we talking about BlizzCon? Is that where the first Combine's going to be? Are they going to make a big deal out of that, where they'll invite all these really good Overwatch players and have the whole picking process be kind of like the esports event for that BlizzCon? And yeah, it's just very strange that we seem to be waiting so long for this to be happening.
And it's only really a problem if you're a team owner. But it must be a massive problem if you're a team owner, because you wouldn't know really, are you going to be getting everyone playing Overwatch for 8 hours a day for the foreseeable future on the off chance that...
And particularly if you're a tournament organizer as well, like are you okay to run a tournament in July? Can you start planning that now? Or are you going to book your tournament now? Oh, cool, I'll get all these teams, and then Blizzard goes, actually, we're going to run the first Combine that week, so not only will none of those teams exist, there's no one's ever going to be watching what you're doing. So, it's just a nightmare for those guys,
Yeah. So it wouldn't be Overwatch This if we didn't talk about the PTR, at least briefly. This week, certain corners of the community think that there's been a Doomfist reveal on the PTR. Yeah. Something's happened.
Something's happened. As always, and as you may remember from the Somber episodes, something has happened. Nobody's quite sure what, and Blizzard aren't saying anything. So the menu music was updated on the PTR. There's now a kind of quite dramatic, I think it's about 23 seconds to kick it off before it goes into the main kind of Overwatch theme that everyone's used to. It's from that initial first cinematic they made back in, 2014, when they announced the game where they're attacking the museum and there's those 2 kids, and then Winston and Tracer show up and all the rest of it. So it's from that, and people were like, well, that's when they're stealing the Doomfist gauntlet, so it must be a Doomfist thing. He's definitely coming. He's going to appear next week. Everyone gets super excited. And then some more cooler heads with a little more access to the trailer itself prevailed and said, look, it's actually not from a bit where they're talking about Doomfist. It's from this small section of the trailer where they're talking about the Omnic Crisis, which was kind of the thing that kicked off the whole Overwatch universe when all the robots went evil. As they do.
Always.
They seem to love doing that.
Always.
So there's now kind of this debate as to whether is it a Doomfist thing, which it could be. Doomfist is almost certainly our next character. There's also that other tease that we talked about last week where the glass on the Numbani payload is now broken, like someone's trying to get the gauntlet back. Is it a tease for that, or is it some kind of lore event they're planning on doing where they're maybe going to expand out the Omnic Crisis and talk about that and explain what actually happened during it? Because we don't have a lot more information there, and that was also originally what this graphic novel that was cancelled, I think it was just before BlizzCon or just after BlizzCon, that was meant to be set during that, so they kind of have a story there that they were originally planning to tell, but then cancelled how they were going to tell it initially.
I can't decide whether Blizzard are excellent at these teasers or whether they're
absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it's just terrible, but it doesn't matter anyway because there's enough enthusiasm for people to fill the gaps.
I mean, that's how they got through the Sombra one. Whatever this is, I can't imagine it lasting as long as that. Like,
I hope
not only were they admonished for it, but it also actually did remove some amount of excitement from the community. In the end, people were just like, I just want to...
Yeah.
Can we just not do this? Like, can we just stop? You just tell us when it's going to happen, and then we'll wait for then. The thing about it is that if it is a Doomfist tease, that would explain why they haven't said anything. But they also just seem really scared of actually coming out and being like, no, it's not for this, okay? We've just updated the menu music, all right? We just thought it could be a bit better. That's all we've done. Just calm down. And it feels like they maybe need to start doing that if they don't want people to pop off every single time this happens.
Yeah.
That said, every time this happens, there's another surge of people into the community, people interested in the game in a different way, people like us talk about it, write about it. So maybe it is just something they want to happen.
No such thing as bad publicity, as
apparently not, no.
Another familiar theme in Overwatch This is talking about loot boxes and stats relating to them. We've had some interesting insight from Jeff Kaplan about how that actually works and that the stats haven't changed
not at all
across all the events so far.
Yeah. So we have this post on the website. We updated it quite regularly just after the game came out, which is all about the loot box chances. If you open 10 loot boxes, what's your average number of epics and number of legendaries you're going to get?
Shout out at this point to Jordan, who's put in a tremendous amount of work.
He's the guy who went
out.
through and did it all, and for that I thank him greatly. Part of the reason that we never did one for Christmas was because A, we were all away for Christmas, and B, we didn't want to actually kill Jordan. And it also seemed like even if they were changing, it didn't seem like they were changing a lot, and that they probably worked out any problems they had and had moved into a, oh yeah, okay, we'll do events like this, and that seems to work. What Kaplan's now come out and said is that not only have they not changed it between Christmas and Lunar New Year, or between Halloween and Christmas, they've actually never changed it. They did the summer one, and then they went, okay, yeah, that works. Yeah, that seems fine. Which is super surprising, because I really would have expected them to put it in one way, see what people talked about, see how it operated, have a look at a few thousand loot box openings themselves, and go, okay, that doesn't really work. Let's tweak this, let's tweak that. But apparently that's not what's happened. It would also suggest they've not really changed the algorithm at all since launch, which also surprises me, because it's not like the loot boxes were in the beta. They weren't there at all, and now you can buy them, you can earn them. I would have thought that they would want to tweak that over time, now that we're about a year in, that they would have done something. This kind of implies that they haven't, which is it's very strange. It's
funny, isn't it? They must have used at least a part of the algorithm that they use for loot drops in their other games, but there isn't really like a sort of one-for-one that they could have rolled out that would work in this one. So it's remarkably confident of them to just have something on day one that they go, well, that works perfectly.
Yeah.
That'll do it for episode 20 of Overwatch This. Thank you for being here and celebrating with us on this landmark episode. Next week, we'll be talking about all the changes in the upcoming patch on the PTR. We'll finally get on to talking about esports this time.
Definitely,
we promise. And also Doomfist will definitely be out and playable by then.
For sure, yes, 100%. So, we've got it confirmed. A man called Kef Japlin told us, so don't worry about it.
No reason to worry about that. All right, we'll catch you next time. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications for all further stuff we do. Leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Let us know in the comments.